Okay, I mean, let's jump right into it. So tell me more about like why exactly you wanted to start MoonDAO in the first place.
Yeah, so I mean, I can go into like why I wanted to start DAOs in general, because I think that's probably the bigger question, and then MoonDAO specifically, I can get into as well. So yeah, I mean, there are multiple reasons. Basically, I think one of the biggest reasons is I think that DAO is just an extension on any sort of like LLC, C corp, etc. So you can think of like a company basically as just like any group of people that have some incentive structure and some governance on top of it, right? And so we've existed inside of the legal contract world where we kind of define what a company is and what all the, like we have all these ideas of like, okay, this is a nonprofit, this is a company, this blah blah blah, and they're constrained by legal, and then they can have their own governance inside of the companies, and then they can have their incentive structures, etc. But DAOs came along and they're like, okay, well, we can actually do everything that a regular company can do, and we can do it better. We can do it more efficiently. We can do it like distributed. We can do it without any lawyers. We can do it without any banks involved. We can do all this stuff without any of the red tape, and anyone can just go ahead and do it. All you need is an internet connection, and it's like, dude, this is obvious. This is going to be this is like going to replace all of these other organizations in the long term, in my opinion. That's my strong belief. But not only that, right? It's not limited by geography. It's not limited by, okay, only people in the United States can be in this company, or only people in this country can do this, or blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, everyone from all over the world can do it. You can align not only 1,000 people, but 10,000 people, 100,000 people, all inside of an organization. So it seems to me that like there's no chance that this doesn't win. You could say maybe there's like a legal risk. Like, okay, well, this isn't going to be recognized by whatever, but the United States or whatever. But the thing is, it's not really their decision to make. They can say like, okay, we're not going to recognize DAOs. It's illegal now. Guess what? Okay, all these people that are making money through DAOs, that are making more money through a DAO than they were in their traditional company, they're going to go to Singapore. They're going to go to just anywhere else in the world. They're going to go to the Cayman Islands, Bahamas, and then they're going to just do the same thing from that location. And the other people in the DAO are just going to be under VPN. So it's just, to me, it just seems like there's no way.
Yeah.
But anyways, and you look at how a lot of companies are run today, and the mentalities that a lot of these companies have, and a lot of the mentalities come from legal restrictions that they have. The laws were built for an old world. A lot of them were written by people literally with feathers, like like literally with feathers.
Yeah.
And a lot of the values are amazing, and I strongly believe in like the U.S. Constitution and these laws, but like Ben Franklin is a huge hero of mine. I think like a lot of these old laws, Plato, I love Plato. Read the Republic multiple times. I think that the values are correct, but the specific implementation, I think that they don't necessarily the laws that we currently have, in the United States. I feel like actually a lot of them have deviated from the initial intent. For example, something like the Federal Reserve, where is that in the Constitution? Nowhere. They actually did not intend to have any sort of centralized bank in the United States. But now we're living as though that's a given. Or the gold, the gold standard, right? Fiat in
Yeah.
1972. And now we have a fiat currency. This is actually very strange, and I don't think that people really realize that this is only something that's been happening for the past 50 years, and a lot of things have gone poorly since then. But anyways, yeah. So why do I think DAOs are the future? Is because well, it's this entity that basically allows us to rethink how the world can work, and I think that there are a lot of things in this world that are messed up and we can change. So, but then yeah, why MoonDAO specifically? So MoonDAO started after I was involved in Constitution DAO, and then that sort of like faded, and then there was all this energy, all these people that wanted to like find something to go, and it wasn't like I was like, okay, like I had this vision for MoonDAO just at the beginning, you know. A lot of it was very emergent, and that's actually what I think is really cool about DAOs, is that you can just get a few people together and you're like, okay, what do we care about? What is interesting? What can we do? And so that's what my co-founder Corey Rogers, we just started hopping on calls and we just started talking about like DAOs and where this thing could go, and just got really excited. And we found this moon rock that like the largest lunar asteroid that we could purchase. And we're like, oh, what if we started this MoonDAO thing? Like that would be funny. Like, or you can say our tokens are going to the moon. You know, it's kind of a joke. And then well, we realized like, wow, actually, like space, like we realized that we're both extremely passionate about space and like the potential there, and like what we can do there. And we started looking into, okay, we can actually send members up into space, and then we started contacting people. Well, first it was from Christie's and from Sotheby's to buy these rocks. Like, give us your biggest moon rocks. Like, like find us the biggest rock. These guys would be like, I can contact this guy. He has a $10 million rock. You think you can buy it? This guy's like, oh, I've hit the jackpot. You know, like they'll spend as much money as they want. Yeah. Like, these crypto people are crazy, you know. It's like, okay, I've got this $10 million rock. Can you do this? And then, but we contacted someone from Sotheby's. It was super cool. Her name's Cassandra, and she's in her DAO now, and she's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, she actually was able to put us in contact with Blue Origin, with their SVP, Mike Edmonds, and then, you know, the rest is sort of history. We you know, contacted them. We were like, hey, we have this massive community, we've raised all this money, like, can we buy one of your tickets? And he was like, hell yeah. Like like well, he also realized sort of like this kind of fits their values too. Like, they want to democratize access to space, we want to decentralize access to space, you know. So there's a lot of overlap there. But anyways, yeah, like space is sort of the new frontier. DAOs and crypto are a new frontier, and you know, I think that frontiers are an opportunity to rethink how society should exist. You know, like, we expanded westward for a long time. You know, and these were always opportunities to sort of like rethink. Okay, how do we want to create our culture here, our society here? Then we kind of ran out of space. You know, we hit California, and now it's like, okay, where are we going? Up. Like, I guess that's the next thing, right? So
Yeah, you know, you brought up a couple of interesting points there, because I guess one point people always make is, how are DAOs different from just like fundraising for a company? Or if you wanted to start, I don't know, for a DAO that's more focused on philanthropy, why not just start a nonprofit, right? So how would you answer those questions? In what ways are DAOs fundamentally different from corporations? I know we spoke about high level stuff, but is it ownership? Are there other components in there? What do you think?
yeah, so if you start, you know, your classic organization, you know, say you know, you're an aspiring founder, you want to make a LLC, you know, or a C Corp, Delaware C Corp, something like that. You know, okay, well, you put that together. They're like little apps, you know, where you can do that, and you can find, you know, angel investors, all this stuff, you know. Works pretty well. You can do like a safe contract, you know. But who can invest? Well, okay, it's people who are accredited investors. So what does that mean, an accredited investor? That means that you have to have a sustained household income of $200,000 or more for a period of time, or I think it's $2 million in assets excluding your house. So basically you have to be rich as fuck, period, right? Like, and so like, okay, that's a pretty interesting restriction. Okay, all right, well, let me see what other alternatives I have. I could do Kickstarter. I can raise from a community, pretty cool. But the thing is though, they don't actually own the product. So you get their money, but they don't have any say or any stake involved in what you're doing. Doesn't really seem like a good deal for them. And a lot of these Kickstarters kind of go kaput, because there's no like, a lot of them are gimmicks, a lot of them are like, and that's sort of like, I think people think of DAOs right now as like kind of gimmicks, but dude, like you take people's money, right? And that's a huge responsibility, at least I think, right? But these people now own the thing that you've built. They govern it. They get to decide how it works. They get to, jump into a Discord and then start building it and helping out. It's a fundamentally new structure. There's like, we can try to analogize it to companies or to Kickstarters or to nations even. But all those analogies, the skeuomorphisms, if you want to call them that, they don't really fit this new thing that we're capable of building up. So yeah, I think it's just if you're a new founder and you're looking for how to make an organization, it seems to me that a DAO is the obvious choice.
Right.
In my opinion,
Yeah.
You can access some capital now, and that's actually maybe a restriction. Is like some VCs, some banks can't invest in a DAO, but that's changing really quickly.
Right.
Because they see a massive opportunity. So A16Z, I think, deployed $2.2 billion of a fund that they raised for like Web3 stuff. But then it's like, okay, why am I taking money from the same people now? And what are their incentives, and how do they want to run? So it's a mentality thing too, right? Like with MoonDAO, what we try to do is, my little brother has the same terms as the biggest VC in the world. Level playing field. Why do we need to have a private token sale for just these people? Maybe sometimes you need to, build a team ahead of time, and you need to incentivize them, etc. But what's really cool is you can just make a Discord, and if people are really passionate about what you're doing, they'll help. You don't need to pre-mine a token. You don't need to do these things. You just open up a Discord, be like, this is our mission. And people are, a lot of people just love it, and they'll get.
I guess purchasing power is still at play, because like if A16Z wanted to, I guess, invest in MoonDAO, they could just go ahead and deploy like $20 million, and they own a majority share of the tokens. But I guess you can also cap that if you wanted to, right? Like the amount of money someone could deploy. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it's more about like democratizing access to almost an organization's decisions and having ownership in the outcomes as well.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Definitely.
And so
but there's a distinction to be made there, though. So like, I think a lot of people think like, okay, yeah, what happens if someone comes in and buys all the tokens and now they get to vote? Well, actually, the governance is just a function on top of the distribution of the ownership, right? So ownership and governance are separate. So you can have a function for governance that is a function of the distribution of the token, right? So you can do something like quadratic voting. You can do something like capped voting. You can do stuff like one person, one vote. I think MoonDAO is building what is, in my opinion, like one of the more sophisticated governance models that I've ever seen in the DAO. So I'm really excited to roll that out. But yeah, like there's like, people can put in as much money as they want. You know? That doesn't mean that they control it necessarily. And I think, in fact, there should be methods to prevent people from just buying all the token and controlling the DAO.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so with MoonDAO, tell me about how MoonDAO grew. So you had this wild idea, initially looking to buy moon rocks, and eventually that turned into this whole movement to send someone to space. But I remember, because like I was, I basically bought a bunch of these Mooney tokens very early on, and then I saw there was this nothing much was happening for like it was slightly growing for like a couple of weeks, and then boom, it just exploded. So what exactly happened there?
Yeah, so it's if you plot the contributions over time for MoonDAO, it's literally an exponential curve. So it's like, it's really beautiful. It's like really interesting because like it's network effects. Like you see the network effects working in real time, and you see how like, you know, people talk to their friends and they're like, I just invested in this thing, and then they see and they're like, dude, you get like, do this, buy this, you know, and then just word of mouth and just, you know. But yeah, there's for a while it was just kind of slow, you know, but it's like any exponential curve, it just
Yeah.
builds up. So yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of reasons for why that happened. I think one of them is we didn't have like a bonding curve on our token. We just made it same terms throughout the whole time, and this was good because it basically like it meant that it was fair at any point in your contribution. You know, you're not getting any worse of a deal as anyone else. I think that there was a lot of goodwill that was built up because I helped with Constitution DAO, and people saw you know what my values were, and you know where I was coming from, and I left Constitution DAO and you know stood up for the things that I believed in, and I think that got the attention of some you know other really good people, and
Yeah, for sure.
and those people had you know a lot of reach as well. And then yeah, so for example, Cal is a guy on Twitter who I connected with during Constitution DAO, and now we're like you know like we're really close now, and you know he helped you know make Twitter Spaces to promote MoonDAO and all this stuff, and then I went to different communities like the People DAO, which a lot of them know me because of Constitution DAO. And then, you know, I told them I'm making this new project, and they're like, okay, like I'm in. So yeah, it's just, yeah, built a lot of goodwill for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you didn't really have to do a ton of like marketing on your end. You didn't have to push anything. It just kind of happened organically. People were just into the mission so much, they just kept telling their friends about it.
Yeah, well, we posted on Twitter. We do Twitter Spaces, town halls. But we never paid for you know being placed in some you know article or anything like that. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like that's what a lot of people do, but it's like hype, fake marketing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Like we were written about in Vice and written about in Politico, and a few in I think in or in China there was a lot of press actually. In South Korea as well, and yeah, France, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, and in Spain, I'm talking to a journalist right now, so hopefully they'll start promoting. But yeah, I feel like yeah, I'm not like a marketer or anything like that. I wasn't trying to like optimize the amount of you know people that saw the thing. It just kind of happened, yeah, naturally.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so what were some of the struggles of dealing with you know a growing DAO? You must have had a ton of members just joining in, and were there any issues with that?
It's really cool to see a community evolve and kind of create emergent sort of like values and you know like yeah, it's really cool because what happens is you know at first you know it's just a few people, right? And
Yeah.
like we make sure that we kind of aligned on some of the values. I wrote like a values statement, you know, along with the mission, all this stuff, you know, and so you kind of attract people that are sort of into that sort of you know way of thinking and way of doing things. And then so you kind of build a core group, and then you have a core group of people that can kind of get the ball rolling, that you know you have enough resources to basically kind of get enough out there, you know, make a Notion page with like this is a one pager, make a Twitter, just start you know spreading the word, going in different discords, and you kind of built a little core group. And then if everyone kind of aligns on values, new people that come in, you know, maybe at first they come in with like a totally different mindset, you know, and like it'll kind of you know bump heads
Yeah.
with people, and then some of them change, you know, some of them are like, oh actually you're right, like I want to be part of this thing, I understand what you guys are doing and this is really cool. And I've seen a lot of that. And other people, you know, they don't change, and it's like, well, you know, they kind of just leave over time because they just realize this isn't their home, you know, like this isn't a pumponomics, you know, like pump coin, meme coin, you know, that it's just like like they realize like, oh shit, no, these people are like they have real serious values. They're doing real work. They're doing real things. And yeah, it becomes self-reinforcing. It's really cool to see. So now we have like a pretty, like, I think there's 3,000 people in our Discord, and it's growing, every day, and new people come in, and we have like different systems of like integrating them. We have like ways of like greeting them, like not interviews, but just like calls that we do with new people if they're interested. And then we basically like yeah, like we tell them about the culture, what we're trying to build, and it kind of self-selects. Like, it's really cool. But we're open, anyone can join, and that's also, I think, really beautiful, because we get people from different backgrounds that like you wouldn't expect would be into this stuff, but then they love it.
Yeah.
We have no filter in terms of who comes in, and the culture kind of decides on its own.
That's amazing, because that's a very organic way of developing culture, and in a way that's contrarian to what a lot of business school cases say, where it's like you need to decide the culture and screen for that. But with an open organization, you can't really screen for it. People just have to self-select themselves, or somehow help the culture itself evolve.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's either the people building the DAO, like the people who are actually active and working on things, they select just through natural, organic sort of like we're very welcoming, we're nice people. Or you let some HR committee decide. And the HR committee, they're not actually building the thing. The HR committee, they're not actually in the trenches, doing this thing. They don't understand how a lot of these things work. And I see this in a lot of businesses, a lot of places that I used to work at, they're disconnected. They don't understand, they have their agenda and their, ideology behind their hiring. But there's a disconnection between that and the people in the trenches actually building. And so, yeah, I've seen that a lot. So I'm like, no HR, like we don't need it. Like, and it's beautiful. Like, I think that's cool. I think it's like, okay, now everyone gets to decide who is in, who's out. And there's no strong line, we've had cases where we had like one guy who was a scammer actually. And we have like a no tolerance for scams. That's like one of our like only really big rules is like, okay, if you're a scammer, you're out, or if you like attack someone, if you like do some like, I mean, we're pretty like, we're pro conflict and that like conflict of ideas, disagreements. I think that's really good. It's really healthy, really, it's how you get good ideas, polish them with other people. You kind of knock into them and you're like, oh, let's do this. No, what about this? And you have your reasons, etc. But yeah, if you like start, cussing someone out, like attacking them for their race or something like that, it's like, nah, we don't have time for that. Like,
attack the idea, not the person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
makes sense. And so, okay, and how do you reward contributors?
Yeah, so we're starting our first big gift giving circle. Actually, yeah. So we had 80 people that responded to that. Basically, if you think that you've done positive work for MoonDAO, you can put your name in, and you'll be included. There are a lot of people that they put their name in. They probably didn't actually do much, but people aren't gonna give them tokens. So the way that it works is it's called Coordinate. It was developed by Yearn. And it's a really, really cool system. Basically, like people who like we have we have no such thing as like a core contributors, just have people who have been like working productively in the DAO or like leading different things, and we recognize them in the DAO. And then, but anyone can become one of these people that are recognized. It's not like a core contributor thing. It's just like, okay, this person's been here for like multiple days, contributing good thoughts. They know what they're talking about. Like, let's put them in, But everyone who's in the DAO, recognized in there, has tokens that they can gift to other people, but not themselves. And so they can gift it to anyone. And it's basically a collective way of distributing funds inside of an organization. And
Got it.
Like kind of radical in a way, like
yeah.
And people are like, oh my God, like, are people going to try to game it? Are they going to try to like figure out like how to, you know, just give money to their friends and not to anyone else? And I'm like, yeah, of course they're going to do that. But every month we're doing this gift giving, right? So, and it's all public, so you can see all the people that are gaming it. You know, you can actually run little algorithms to figure out, you know, like you have nodes, right? And it's a graph, and you can figure out you know, what cycles are in there.
Who are these people?
Yeah, and yeah, I don't think that they'll receive many tokens the next month. You know,
Probably
like,
get away with it the first couple of times, but not for too long.
no, yeah, like people, and the thing is, yeah, you just give tokens to people that you've worked closely with, you know, that you think are providing good value. And yeah, it's going to be an experiment, but like everything in DAOs right now, it's kind of an experiment.
Yeah,
but
for
yeah,
sure.
I think it's
and finally,
and another point too that I think I should mention is we have like I think, well, the value of Mooney fluctuates, but I think it's sitting around like $20 million right now in our governance token, right?
And so do you have a liquidity pool?
No, we haven't set up liquidity pools. Liquidity pools are just set up by the like people, anyone else, you know, like we don't do it. But basically, like yeah, that's sitting in our treasury, and we're distributing it to people working, right? So we're gonna mint actually millionaires inside of our DAO. Like the people who are really contributing, right? The people who are really doing like a lot of work, like literally, right? Like we have $20 million. Like they are going to be millionaires. And that's saying if the token stays the same price, which who knows? It can go up, down, sideways, who knows? But
yeah,
you know, that's important to state, dude. Like this is like,
that's pretty significant.
it's significant, yeah.
I don't know if that's happened so far within DAOs.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a novel way of doing it, for sure. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So, you know, final question. What is your advice for someone trying to start a Web3 project or a DAO? Top three pieces of advice.
I think one big one is abundance mindset, and that's vague, but I can explain exactly how this applies to a DAO. So if you take some of the tokens for yourself ahead of time, think about what that's doing. Yeah, maybe you protect, you know, like maybe you'll have a big payday, you know, if you own 10% of the tokens just for yourself right off the bat. But what is this signaling to everyone else, right? It's signaling that, okay, all of a sudden there's a group of people that are already, you know, the quote unquote core group, and they have, you know, a special place in the DAO. You're not going to get the emergent people that just come in and they're like, oh, this is so cool, I want to start helping out right now. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get as much funding if you're doing something like open to like people that pay, right? Because they're going to go like, okay, where's my money going? It's like 10% of it is going to this guy. Why? Like they haven't done any work yet. You know, you just started this thing, right? Like how much is this thing worth? You don't know. You're making up 10%, whatever, for yourself, for your CTO or whatever role that you want to invent. These roles are they're nonsense anyways, you know. People they like to box stuff, you know. And that's another thing maybe too, boxing, you know, like I think that we like to like put people into like, okay, this is your role, this is your thing, and this is your organization, like this, like organize everything as much as possible. But you have to accept some level of chaoticness in a DAO. We're still learning how to do it. We're still figuring out, and it's so open. There's so many ways to do a DAO. If you come into it, you know, thinking like, okay, I'm gonna set everything up ahead of time, everything's gonna be perfect, and you're in analysis paralysis, basically. Like there's so many options, there's so many things, like you know, you're never
It's like a startup.
You're never gonna make any forward progress. Exactly, it's like a startup, but it's like a startup but worse, because it's like there's so many more, like so many options. You know, the startup, you know, maybe there's a few big decisions right off the bat. How do you want to legally incorporate, you know, this stuff, and like with it now, it's like, whew, you know. So at some point, you just have to say like, this is how we're gonna do it. It's an experiment, you know. Maybe if it doesn't work, make as many reversible decisions as you possibly can, and just move forward and know that you can change and you can like adapt. that's how you become resilient. That's how you become, you know, anti-fragile. That's how you do these things. Is you experiment, you tinker, you try to see what works, what doesn't work, and then you just have to have a tinkering mindset, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I don't know what a third one would be. Third one, I don't know, memes, like make
Have
good.
fun.
Yeah, like actually, yeah, have fun. Like just like don't take it so seriously. Like yeah, there's money involved, but it's like I don't know. You're gonna have a lot more fun if it's fun. Like
Yeah,
you can attract a better culture if it's fun.
for sure.
Make jokes, like make memes, like just do it. You know? Yeah,
Yeah, memes are fun.
yeah.
Well, this was great, Pablo. Thanks for taking the time.